Yeah. There we go, folks. There it is. Happy Fun Day Sunday. We're underway. And all those other kind of rhymey words. Good morning to everybody. Hope everyone's doing well today. To get started, we're going to come to the middle part of our mats with our feet about hip width apart. We're going to take an alignment of our toes slightly off the center line of the mat. So we're aiming off in a little bit of an angle. We're going to make some straightness to the legs, and we're going to kind of chopstick, which is basically pull the two legs together. If you felt the package in the back kind of engaged, perfect. That's kind of what we're looking for. Let's draw in the belly, and let's elongate the spine, draw the shoulders up to the ears. Let's open the palms to face forward, but let's bend the elbows today. And then use those elbows to pull the arms backwards. So there's a nice break or slight bend in those elbows. As we expand across the chest, you're going to feel activation across the back. And I want you to make sure you've got that package we talked about earlier engaged. Now grow the neck. Make sure the chin's not raising or lowering, but kind of underneath, runs parallel to the ground. Take a big breath in, and as you exhale, let's serve those arms out. And bring the forearms together if you can. So that's inwardly rotating those arms of ours. Making sure the pinkies and forearms are connected. I'd like you to push them together slightly. Now, just checking back in on that package thing. If it's still engaged and it's starting to tremble, good stuff. Guys, keep it there. Let's rotate the thumbs downward. So we're kind of opening up the palms a little more if we can. And then let's draw back the elbows. Trace the rib cage, pull them all the way back and keep the bend in the elbows. Now let's take toes, stepping straight forward. Feet are still hip width apart. I'm going to keep a nice long spine. We're going to kind of brace it. I'm going to ask you to engage that six-pack muscle and draw back the hips. So we begin this hinging like a chop point through the hips. Spine is long. I'd like you to kind of descend down until you feel a nice good tension through your gluteals and hamstrings, and then rise back up. And we're going to oscillate up and down. And on the down, I'd like you to focus as your body allows, of course, a little more range, so you can get a little deeper. Keep those elbows pulling back. So we have a nice recruitment, a nice engagement of the back muscles, and feel a nice elongation through the posterior muscles of the legs, up and into your buttocks. And as we fold down, I'd like you to inhale. And as you rise up, I'd like you to exhale. And let's continue on this, a few more repetitions. Good morning to everybody. Hope your Sunday is going well so far. All right, as we stand up this time, hold up, create
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you.
You know what? Mark, you're such the gentleman. Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers.
And Val.
And Val, yeah, and Sue, yeah. So with that in mind, we're going to serve back out the arms, forearm to forearm, baby fingers together. Mark is such a nice guy.
Yes.
It's like, that's what I forgot to do. All right, now as we continue to serve, but I'd like you to spread your fingers widely and let the baby fingers and the palms, the sides of the hands, kind of separate so we have a nice distance. And then collapse the fingers in, draw the forearms back together, draw back the elbows, and trace the rib cage, pull them all the way through. Make those hands into fists. And rotate the thumbs up to the skies. And we're going to start some good mornings. We're coming back to this same movement pattern we had before. Very important here is to make sure we're not letting the shoulders rotate internally or let the head fall. We want nice long spine, nice open chest, nice recruitment of muscle across the shoulder blades in the back. And let's do this a couple more times using the breathing we established earlier. As we rise up this time, hold up, put the hands up to the sky to salute the sun and worship all of the mothers. Mark, tagging on to what you said before.
Okay, now you're gonna overdo it.
No, exactly. Now you've gone too far. Use the fingers to pull the arms long. Let the shoulders rise up off your body. Take a big breath in, and as you exhale, let the arms sweep to the side and fold down. Palms rotate in to face the body. As we hold in this spot now, we're going to work on external shoulder rotation. So we're simply going to do that by keeping the fingers separated widely. And we're gonna open the thumbs all the way back. So we have a nice open hand and a nice rotation through the arms. When we've rotated back as far as our body will allow, I'd like you to use the fingers to pull the arms and shoulders towards the earth. And as you do so, I want you to be tension free through the neck. So this is a nice stretch opportunity right there. And how we're gonna activate this is imagining both sides of the neck getting longer. However, we're going to elongate the left side more so than the right. We gently raise the head and allow it to kind of drift towards the right side. I'm gonna drift back up to center and drift over to the left. And I'm gonna do that a couple more times. Don't force the range of motion, just enjoy the nice lengthening action. All right, now let's hold up, rotate the head to the right and take the right head side and let the chin drop down towards the right chest. And come back up, sweep it back center, rotate it to the left side, and the chin goes down to the left side chest. And then raise back up. Don't reach down with your jaw. Try to get the range of motion from the head actually moving down well by itself. And back up, opposite side. And then center it back up, sweep the arms up to the sky. Woo! Now let's work on lats, our lats, let the fingers pull, and let your arm kind of pull forward and let this nice length of those side bodies be realized as you fill the lungs with air. And as you exhale, I'd like you to let the arms fall back down, and like a bird flapping wings, we're gonna do this a couple more times. Reaching high and falling down with control, because it's not a real fall, it's a controlled fall, reaching up, folding back down, and then bring your hands up onto your hips. We're gonna bring our feet a little wider than the hips. And we're basically gonna shift side to side, keeping the spine nice and long, not letting that upper body flex. And we're gonna start to circle around. We're just lubricating the hip joints per se, keep the legs relatively straight. And then reverse the roll, opposite direction. And then bring it back center. Shift so that you feel pronounced weight bearing into the right foot and leg. Shift it back center and then do it with the left. And then find balance between the two. And once you've got that balance, we're going to take the upper body, we're going to crowd out the chest. And we're simply going to do that by taking your elbows and pulling them together in the back. And to keep that proud chest, I'd like you to engage the six pack. I'd like you to fold down. Now, whether you go halfway down, all the way down, I want you to predicate the depth to which you go based upon the structure in your spinal column. So if you force down, but you have to flex to get lower, I'd like you to try to avoid that. I'd like to try to keep nice and long for the spine. You feel a nice tension through the hamstrings on the backside of your body. Now, while we're here, let's worry about orientation of our upper body position. If you drift it forward, you will know so because you'll feel a lot of pressurization in the toes. I'd like you to drift backwards as much as you can and feel that nice weight bearing pronounced mostly in the heel of the foot. Now slowly, before we rise, I'd like you to activate an external rotation of the heels of each foot. So it's isometric. And then as we keep that activation, I'd like you to unfold, bring that body back up. As we hold up, I'd like you to re-engage that, hold together the elbows, the elongation of the neck and the spine. And I'd like you to keep that as you keep the external rotation in the heels and descend back to what's best for your body today. With the control, with the stabilization in the spine, rising back up, keeping those heels working, that external rotation, keeping the spine, neck nice and long. And just between the 2 points, see if you can achieve a little deeper movement down with the integrity that we talked about earlier, rising up and lowering. Let's try it one more time. And I'm going to hold down, keep the spine extended, drift your hips back as you let the fingertips drift down towards the floor. If they don't get here, that's fine. You can reposition on shins. Most important here is the spinal and neck extension. So whatever level you need to be at, you just take what's best on that pathway, your fitness journey today. On the next breath, as you release it, let the spinal column flex. Hang out. Feel a nice little, hopefully nice little release in the lower back. Let the head just rotate from side to side. And as you calm everything, fingertips come back to the earth. Inhale, extend to a flat back. Exhale, drift the hips backwards and then walk your fingers forward. As you release your next breath at this time, let the upper body fold back down and bring hand to opposite elbow. As your fingertips return back to the earth, walk them forward. Inhale, extend into a flat back. Drift those hips back. Feel that nice pull from the fingertips through the arms, along through the lats, side body muscles, and a nice tension through the hamstrings. As you breathe out your next breath, fold back down and hand to opposite elbow. Enjoy a couple breaths. Float on the feet, float forward and back. And then find a stable spot as your fingertips turn back to the earth and walk it forward. Inhale, extending to a flat back. Make sure you're kind of pulling with the top of the head, pull back with the booty, head pulls forward, big breath in. And as you exhale, fold back down, hand to opposite elbow. Let's bring both palms now onto each shin. As you extend to a flat back, keep the back in extension, but this time we're going to bend both knees. And then we're going to straighten both knees and let the upper body fold, but we're really using the hips as a hinge point that allows our spine to remain extended. So we're not flexing. Now, if you can, while you're keeping that spine extended, crowd out your chest. Feel that nice upper back, maybe middle back, depending on how it's activated in your body. Muscle activation right around your spinal column. Keep it nice and long as we continue to oscillate up and down with nice extension and nice recruitment of those muscles that help us stabilize the upper back. Now hold it down, push the palms to the shin, row the spine, and try to elevate the shoulders. So we're kind of unhinging a little bit through our hips. Keep the angles through the hips and back. Now the knees, I'm going to ask you to kind of bring them out a little bit straighter, but we let the hands kind of slide up to the kneecaps. So with this position now, crowd out that chest, take the left and right hand, bring them forward. Now move forward and back on the feet, and then find the spot where you can get far enough back that you notice pronounced weight bearing in the heels. Keep that as you raise the hands about eye level. Hold the arms long. See if you can get a little lower and a little higher and oscillate up and down. And we're working our hip, knee, and ankle mobility right now. Those three joints are going through triple extension and triple flexion. Getting all of those muscles working and strengthening. Now see if you can increase the range of motion down, come back up to stand, go all the way down, come back up to stand, do it a couple more times if you can, it's there, it's accessible. And as you stand this time, hands sweep to the sky, big breath in, lots of oxygen being used there. Exhale, release the arms. Nice. Let's take it down to the mat. Let's meet our friend Matt. Hey Matt, how are you doing today? Okay. Excuse me. All right. We're going to bring our feet to the corners of the mat.
Our feet.
Our feet. It's plural.
Move back more.
Move back more.
So you're in front.
Okay, get back in frame. Nice. So I'm gonna step my hands behind me. I'm gonna take my fingers, name them backwards. So we have a nice open chest. I'm gonna bring us into spinal flexion first. I like you to kind of collapse in and feel the normality of this. This is kind of like, oh, this does not work at all. It's kind of good. This is what normal feels like for a lot of us, myself included. And what we work for in these classes is to provide the abnormal, if you will, to kind of get back to a better normal for us. As we do this, I'm gonna ask you to proud out the chest. We're gonna bend the elbows slightly. And if you feel too much tension through the shoulders, back off a little bit. This is not really a shoulder stress exercise. It's all about spinal elongation. And I'd like you to kind of proud the chest to create the activation of muscles that allow the thoracic or upper spine to be nice and long. Make sure the neck is tension free. This is all about just activating those muscles. And then we're gonna take the right hand, bring it onto the right knee, and we're gonna take the left hand, left knee. Now we got a front and back scenario going here. I'd like you to take a little bend in the elbows. And with that bend, I'd like you to pull the elbows back and push forward, with the chest as you keep the spine nice and long. So we have spinal column muscle activation against a front bearing muscle would be offset a little bit with the hand grab. But we're using that nice hand grab to create a pull, an activation of our lats. Now, as we keep this, I'd like you to keep the upper body nice and long and release both hands. You notice the front part of the body engaged a lot more. That's your flexors. We're gonna keep them active. And then I'm gonna step the legs forward, toes aiming up at the sky, and come into a staff pose. And then we're gonna just dive down the fingertips, kind of like we do at the end of a Pilates sit-up, and let them push through the feet as the head relaxes. Feel that nice lengthening along the upper body. Backside, of course. Now, keep that flexion in the spine that you have presently and begin to lower back down onto the mat. So your head is chin into chest and the pelvic girdle is just kind of rolling backwards. The spine's still in flexion. We haven't really changed its state. And then imprint as best you can, vertebrae by vertebrae, lower, middle, upper back. And then sweep the arms all the way back. And then bring the hands back over chest. So we've rehearsed getting down, it's the same process getting up. And you're gonna hold the spinal flexion as we dive the hands. Take a couple breaths. The hollowing out of the belly is important because we want the directive of the muscle as we start to descend back to the mat. To engage those muscles inwardly as opposed to pushing them outwardly. In other words, make your belly look smaller.
Right.
Rising back up. Slowly diving in. Taking a couple breaths. And reversing the process, coming all the way back down. You'll notice that this is going off at about a 5 count up and down. And continue on this, a few more repetitions. Very good for activation of our spinal forward flexion muscles, your six-pack muscles, if you will, and also a number of muscles related to the core, up and into your chest, and all those anterior or front body muscles being relatively active in these sit-ups. Great exercise for coordinating those muscles, making them stronger.
Those two.
Working together. Oh, last two. What are you counting all of a
So
sudden?
you said a couple more.
A few more.
What's a
Okay.
few?
A few. That's a few. All right, come back up into staff pose. This time we're going to step our arms beside our body with the fingers pointing forward. Now, I'm gonna back it up. I can see myself in there. All right, so spinal flexion. If your camera looks like you That's right, you look like I do in your camera right now, like you kind of work the extensors of the back. And then we're gonna work the exterior rotators of the shoulder. So with the fingers aiming straight forward, this is a different kind of activation than rotating the arm all by itself. So what we're trying to do is actually pull the shoulder sockets off the center line of the body. And in doing so, drift them backwards. And it's very important with our spinal extensors that we engage spinal extensors first, exterior rotation of the shoulders second. That's sequencing as opposed to trying to ratchet back the shoulders and then extend the spine. The sequencing is very important to maintaining good stability in those shoulders of ours. So if we work and maintain that spinal extension and exterior rotation of the shoulders, I'd like you to drop your right ear towards the right shoulder, come back center, and do it to the opposite side.
Are the arms straight or?
Arms have slight bends. This is nothing about the arms really. It's just about shoulder and spinal extension. But that's a good question. Now hold it up straight, drop the chin into the chest, raise the chin up to the sky, level it out underneath, and then pull the knees up and into the chest and wrap those knees with your hands, and then slowly lower down. Release the feet off the earth, coming all the way down onto the back. Push your feet up and into the air and try to maintain a nice straight, long leg. Take your toes, flex them. That means bring them closer to the shin. To keep that flexion, I'd like you to, either with towel or with fingers, reach up and grab the toes. All right, now pull the toes towards the ground, the earth. As we pull the toes towards the earth, I'd like you to feel that nice pull through the back part of the legs, up and into the knees. If you can, drive your heels to the sky as you pull your toes down towards the earth. And then as you release your next breath, let both legs come back down, bend through the knees so that your feet are light on your mat, close to your butt. And we're gonna rock the pelvic girdle. So I'd like you to take an anterior pelvic rotation, which means you can imagine a string on the front part of your hips, pulling it up towards the sky. As it pulls them up towards the sky, I'd like you to now relax that string back down. And if you feel the touch of the low back skin on your mat, perfect. That's the sensation you're going for. Now let's peel that skin up and then lower the skin back down. Again, this is an oscillatory type of movement. I'd like you to rock it up and rock it down, almost like a wave-like motion. And as we begin to warm up the muscles in and around our pubic and pelvic girdle, I'd like you to keep a nice breathing rate, inhaling and exhaling with the rhythm of the hip movements. And then finally, let's keep that low back skin on the mat. Take your right leg and extend it out at about a 45-degree angle. Point the toes. Okay, so we have the toes pointed. We have extension through all three joints now. Extension through the ankle, the knee, and we have a little bit of flexion through the hip. So now we're going to extend the hip by keeping the toes pointed and lower the heel, straight leg, all the way down to the earth, and the heel gently touches. And now we've got triple extension. Now we're going to go to triple flexion. We're going to bring the knee towards the body, flex the foot, and we're going to use the hand to help assist pull that leg in towards the body. And then we're going to triple extend. Toe point, knees extend, and leg straight as it may be, lowers back down to the earth. If you feel that right cheek engage as the leg lowers down, perfect. Flex, that means comes in, and extend. Practice pointing the toes as you push out and lowering down, and come back in, triple flexion, triple extension.
Do it a couple more times, 4 or 5 count, whatever works slow enough for you, but keeps you interested.
This is all for the headphones.
This is for a combination of muscles. Too many to articulate, so we're not gonna go there. All right, let's bring that right side down. Take the left side, same thing, extend the legs out, toes pointed, and then gently lower that left leg towards the earth. This is not a strenuous exercise, this is more of a muscle coordination exercise. For the first time in, we're gonna pull in, we're gonna hold. And then we're going to extend, put a 45, whatever degree angle. And the extension through the hip, of course, is when that left leg lowers towards the earth, and then triple flexion. And you can use your hand to assist the depth that you pull in, or you can use your own muscles. But remember, extend the foot, point the toes as you push out, and flex that as you pull back in. So this is really just coordinating the movement of muscles through our hip, ankle, and knee. Because this is literally how we walk. We extend triple and we flex triple. And we're increasing the normal range of motion, and it's easier to do when we're lying down on our back. So this is a good muscle sequencing or coordination exercise. And it's good for balance, believe it or not. All right, now let's pull both knees up and in, bring the forehead up to meet the knees, rock and roll front to back. And as we come up, we're gonna come to the left side of the mat. I'm gonna find the mat is a guide for our position within that left leg of ours, that left thigh. We're gonna bring that left shin, kind of like the same as the square of the mat, and we can use those lines to form the square on our leg. We're gonna do the same thing with the foot. We're gonna flex it. So we basically have a 90, 90, and 90-degree angle up the earth. The right leg, you know, is pointing off at about a 45-degree angle. I'd like you to kind of step forward and narrow the angle down so that that right leg kind of comes in and makes a weird four-leg type shape. And then once we have that, without the assistance of a push, I'd like you to take the exterior muscles of the left leg and try to pull that left side to the earth as we elongate through the spine. Let's take the right hand, reach it up into the air, and we have 2 counterposing movements. Fingers of the right hand pulling high, muscles of the outside left leg pulling low. Take a big inhale, and as you exhale, pull the right elbow down, rotate the shoulder, right shoulder towards the left side. I'm going to use the assistance of my left hand. If you can do it without, that's fine. And then we're going to extend back up. Make sure you make the effort to push that left leg to the earth as the right hand reaches to the sky, and then crunch it back down. And you might find as you do more of these and rehearse it, that the use of the left arm is not as necessary as it was when we first started. So try to see if you can get to that point. And this cross body work, you should feel it in the obliques. If you do, awesome. And if you're not, you're just working on it. You'll get there. Promise. Let's make one more repetition. Hold it back up and then relax it. Switch up sides. How's Mother's Day going so far? Checking.
Mimosa ready?
Is the mimosa ready?
It's not going good until the mimosa's ready.
Kirsten saw, her sister sent her this mimosa, but it was called mimosa. And mimosa, yeah. So sorry, so to pronounce that. The basically shows a glass and it has 2 ratios, the
Bubbles.
bubbles and the orange juice. Lots of bubbles, hardly any orange juice.
That's the way I like it.
Mimosa. All right, now that we've bored you to tears. Left hand pushes up into the sky. Keep it nice and long to the spinal column until we bring the flexion down and then try to touch. And then slowly return back up. Now, some nuances with this is what's happening in the low back and hip. I'd like you to try to keep your hips grounded. So we're focusing more on our rotational muscles and spinal flexion muscles and coordinating our core. So basically our whole core is engaged in creating this internal rotation
And then the external rotators are active as we replace the hand back to its starting spot, coming down and up slowly. And try to use less of that right arm as possible. Oops, see, I fall off a little bit myself, you might do the same. But practice it and find the stability through the whole range of motion. Get your version of it. Let's do one more rep. And then as you return back to the sky, relax that left arm, bring the legs back out in front. Woo, nice. Was that fun? Did you have as much fun as I did? All right, with hands wrapping the knees, gonna make sure the chest's nice and proud, and we're going to collapse now that spinal column coming all the way down, extending the legs out all the way. Feel a nice release for those hip flexors, the hip joints right in the front. Now take your heels and drive them out from the earth. So take them and push them away from the body. And as you do so, I'd like you to hollow out through the belly. And as we work our way up the spinal column, I'd like you to take your belly button and pull it in towards the spine. And then on the back of the rib cage, see if you can kind of sink the rib cage, pushing it into the mat, rounding out the chest, letting those shoulder blades sit flat, and then take your palms facing into the body, but separate the fingers nice and widely and stand on your baby fingers with the fingers and thumb separated wide. So as you crowd the chest, I'd like you to pull the belly button into the spine. So it's like two things. Now, this can be interpreted as being constrictive and compressive. I'd like you to make this sensation one where we're elongating the spinal column, relaxing the neck, and activating two different areas of muscle. Now, I'm going to ask you to start to push your spinal column, the base of it, the tailbone, off the mat by engaging your gluteal muscles. See if you can fire them up and draw the shoulders back and make that neck nice and long, and then hold on this for a couple breaths. And then as you release your breath, relax all of the musculature, pull the knees back up into the chest. Bring your head to meet the knees and just slightly massage front to back. And then calm this and set it back up again. So, heels drive. It's almost like you're trying to push the back of the knee into the mat. And keep the feet flexed. Separate the fingers wide. It's external rotation of the shoulders. It's that finding of that rib cage. We're trying to push it down into the mat as we also hollow out the belly. And then we begin to engage the package. You know what I'm talking about, right? And as that package engages, make sure you're tension free through the neck and nice and long through the whole body. Big breath in, exhale, relax everything. Pull the knees up and into the chest. Slight massage front to back. And then lower back down again. And one more time, because 3 times is the charm. Make sure your toes are aiming up the sky. Drive the back of the kneecap into the earth. Keep those heels driving. Got a big solid recruitment, nice elongation through the spinal column. Openness through the chest, relaxation through the neck. Engagement of those gluteals as you try to push your little tailbone up off the earth. And relax all that tension. Pull the muscles, pull the knees back in. Lengthen up those muscles, circle them the opposite way, and then rock and roll front to back up to a seated position again. All right, back face to face. Hope everyone's doing well.
What's next?
What's next? Boy, this mom is in a hurry. All right. Then we're gonna come all the way up onto all fours. Had to grab a little bit of water. I'm so excited, almost dry through the throat. As we come up onto all fours, I'm gonna ask you to admire how smooth that transition was.
Terrible.
It was terrible. Ugh. All right, we're gonna bring our knees, feet, which have toes tucked under, to the edges of the mat. Same thing with the hands, so the little baby finger, but we're gonna make the fingers nice and wide, kind of like a frog, you know how they sit on their haunches in the front? And we're gonna take our elbows and spiral them in towards the center line of the mat. You're gonna draw the head long, you're gonna let the chest kind of push down in between the arms. So we have no bend in the elbow because we've actually straightened out those arms and rotated internally with the elbows. To keep that nice extension through that upper body. While we hold here, I'd like you to take your belly button and begin to pull it up into the spine. And then let the spine flex, and that's the upper spine. So we're creating flexion by engaging the front or anterior muscles. And I'd like you to push with the arms now, and through that nice pull and length through the whole upper body, shoulders. And then we're gonna reverse this by still keeping the belly button pulling up to the spine, but now we're going to rotate the tailbone and pull the back of the head skyward as the chest pushes in between the arms earthward, keeping spinal column long, feeling decompressed with all of its joints. And then once again, emphasis on the hollowing out, pulling to the center part of that spinal column, thoracic spine, high to the sky, shoulders pushing forward, feeling that whole back upper body pulling long, and then reversing. And then do that one more time. Make a big effort this time. And then do powerful release, come back to a neutral spine, relax the fingers and the hand, and then take your knees, elevate them up off the earth, we're floating back and forward. I'm trying to drift as far back, I get a nice pull through the bottom of my foot, but also across the top of my leg, the thigh, the quadriceps. Getting a nice pull, pushing as I push forward with the toes, letting that stretch happen as I pull back the hips. Let's do it one more time. And I'm gonna hold back and pull your booty to the sky. Let the heels drive towards the earth. And then walk your hands back towards your feet. And keep folded. Make sure your feet are about mat width apart. As you inhale, extend to a flat back. As you exhale, fold back down. Do that a couple more times. And then on the next repetition, one vertebrae at a time, gonna peel up, stack upon the one underneath, and bring the hands all the way up to the sky. Beautiful job. As you inhale, I'm gonna move forward a little bit so I'm not running into my funny little honey. And let the arms fall back down. Beautiful. Now, I want the shoulders up to the ears. Open the palms, face forward. Draw the elbows back. Feel that nice active engagement. Chest nice and proud. Draw the baby fingers onto the hips, keeping the shoulders actively working against gravity. Fold halfway down. Inhale, raise back up. Bend both knees, squat down, stand tall. It's another large range of motion. It's going to be harder to squat with the spine in true extension, but you find your variation of the range as you lower down, see how far you can get without compromising that spinal column. This is working on our hip mobility, ankle and knee mobility a little differently. You'll notice you might experience some different movement through the inner and outer portions of the legs. In other words, the knees buckling in or out. I like you to try to keep the track of the knees directly in the middle part of the toe, lowering down, raising up, and then relaxing. Shake it all the way up. Different way to do squats. Very informative in terms of what's functioning well. And you can see range of motion more actualized by that. Just a little bit of insight and something to work on. Let's bring our feet back together, all the way together this time. As we have that nice orientation of toes pointing forward, I like you to pull the thighs together. So as you pull that inner thigh muscle activation, you might feel a little bit of your gluteal package also engaged. Let's keep that and try to get that as best you can. Now, the ball of the big toe, I'd like you to pronouncedly make an effort to pronounce the push of it into the mat. As you keep the thighs squeezing together. As we keep that, we're gonna bring the hands back, palms facing forward, fingers wide. And then as we keep the spinal column long, I'm gonna begin to fold down with this squeeze of the legs, ball of the big toe working, and then raising back up. I'm avoiding the spinal flexion and I'm working my external rotators of the shoulders. So hopefully you got the same experience, lowering down. There's a lot of muscle that's active right now, excuse me. I'm gonna try to keep it active for the whole range of motion. Oh, coming back up. You might have felt your inner thigh muscles a little stretched out, a little worked, shake it out. Excuse me. And then let's bring our feet back to a nice wide stance. Edges of the mat, take the right hand. Gonna basically take it at about, you look at the right arm as being a 90-degree angle here. We're gonna take it up about 45 more degrees. And I'd like you to separate the fingers nice and wide. And I'd like you to use those to pull that right shoulder this way. Now, take the right hip, drive it out to the side, and that's got 2 pull points. Hip, fingers. Pulling, pulling, pulling. And now hold the hip pull, rotate the palm to face inward, and then sweep that right arm up and over the ear if you can. Oh, nice release for that side body. Come back up and switch up sides. 45-degree angle, pull with the left, both the hip and the fingers. Keep that left hip pulling, rotate the left palm in towards the head and move that left arm. And it's really the fingers pulling the arm up and across. And feel that nice side body. Lengthening, come back up, shake it out, come back down onto the mats. Another smooth transition. I know you're appreciating these today. Oh. All right, couple stretches and we're almost done, right?
You don't have time for a couple, you have time for one.
Oh my goodness, the boss is giving me free. All right. So I'm gonna do figure 4. If your figure 4 looks like this, it's fine, it's still the same stretch. Excuse me. To get it set up, you're gonna have that right foot in flexion. We're gonna kind of keep the hips and its orientation of being square to the front of the mat. So if I look at the front of my hips, front of the mat, square. And I'm gonna take my upper body, I'm gonna rotate my shoulder carriage so it squares to that right foot. And then I'm gonna walk down. As I walk down, I want to be mindful of what happens pelvically. So I have flexion through the hips, but both the left and right cheek have remained in contact with the mat. Now, does it matter that it comes off? Not really, but this creates a different stretch opportunity. We can kind of work that left side down and kind of hold it down as best we can, of course. And then let's walk it back up, switch up sides. This is a great way to cue this stretch to kind of work optimally these side body muscles that tend to dominate our stretching patterns. And we're just trying to retrain how we can kind of focus on some of these muscle lengthening stretches. It's important to realize that stretching isn't the be all and end all of therapizing muscles. Stretching is just a component. Stretching and strengthening is really the better way to go about it. Let's come back up to a seated position. Shake out the legs. I'm going to walk this down now. Staff pose. And if we fold in, let the spinal column just relax. Let's flex both of the feet and then rotate the feet in towards the center line of the body. As you inhale, extend to a flat back. Come up to a seated position. Keep the interior rotation of the toes I'm gonna bring my palms onto my thighs
Yeah.
and keep the chest nice and proud. There we go. And then I'm gonna walk back down. I'm just gonna finish this off. I'm gonna walk over the feet and then try to rotate the feet in towards the center line as I let the spinal column flex. I'm going to flex the feet. Fill the lungs with air. Relax the legs, back up to seated as I bring my hands over heart. I do so to thank you for joining us today. Namaste. Happy Mother's Day
Woohoo,
to all.
we did it.
Yes.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day, Kirsten.